I'm Kathy Hester, and this is DIY Holiday Gifts class. We're going to start with the Peppermint Puppy Cookies, mostly because we're going to bake these. And I do these cookies a little bit differently than some of the others. So with these Peppermint Puppy Cookies, we're going to basically make like a flat, almost like a sheet cake, only with cookies. And we're going to score those, and we're going to cook them parts of the way. Then I'm going to use this parchment paper underneath it. Then we're going to turn it over, break them up, and cook them hard. So whenever you cook dog cookies or puppy cookies, there are two ways you can do it. You can do soft ones, but the soft ones I would recommend that you store in the fridge because they're going to go bad much quicker. And if you're in a humid environment, that means moldy. The drier you cook the cookies, the longer they're going to last. So you could even cook them, and if you feel like, oh, if I leave them in any longer, it's going to burn, you could put it in a dehydrator, or then you could just later on put it in the lowest oven temperature for a little while too. And that's another way that you can dehydrate things without burning them, or to make them dry enough. So what we're going to do first, and a lot of you know I teach a lot of no oil classes, so there is oil in these cookies for the puppies. If you don't have any oil in your house, you probably could use pumpkin or applesauce or something like that as well. So you are good. And I want to get some flaxseed. That's the one thing I don't think I had out yet. And for those of you who aren't used to eating the way that I eat, you can get this at Trader Joe's or anything like that. And what it does is it has lots of really good stuff for your puppies, and it mimics an egg. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some of this, and then we're going to put some warm water in here. We're actually going to use 1/4 cup of this. And then I'm going to put about 1/2 cup of water. And we're going to do that first so that it can get oogy and egg-like. And it's not going to look pleasant. And that's the way it's supposed to be, okay? So, and let me go get about 1/2 cup. Usually you're going to use like double the amount of water. And so I'll let you guys, you can kind of see that it's separated, and I'll show you for over the top, right? So it's definitely separated, and it's going to be more gooey by the time we're going to use it. So we'll set that aside for a minute. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of mix everything in together. So here's 1 cup of coconut oil, and coconut oil is going to be solid. And if you had another kind of solid oil, you could use it. If it's not solid, you can use it in this recipe as well. Like if you wanted to use olive oil, you just wouldn't need to do this creaming part. I'm always trying to get every last teeny tiny bit out of there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put 2 ripe bananas. And here's the thing, right? Bananas come in different sizes. So usually I'm going for a medium one. We might end up needing 1 more banana in here. We're going to see, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put the bananas in here, and we're going to mash that all up together. And basically, we're not having to be as mindful as if we were making people cookies, because we kind of want these to be hard and dense and chewy. So that makes it a little easier on us. I am going to go ahead and use 1/2 cup of applesauce. And I use unsweetened applesauce. That's what I like to do. So let's get this guy in. Whoa. Okay. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. Let me see if I can put this over here. and I'm just guesstimating it. And we're going to use some peppermint extract, which is why it's called Peppermint Puppy Cookies and not vanilla puppy cookies or some other thing. The good thing about peppermint is that it makes their breath smell better, and depending on what your dog's been eating, it can be really helpful. Max likes to go and chew up some pretty gross stuff, so that makes me happy. So I'm going to use, it says to use 2 teaspoons. So you can get some really inexpensive peppermint extract at Trader Joe's around this time of the year. And we're going to talk about using this in something else too. And it just smells so clear and crisp. It's really yummy. If you don't have any, you could, if you have peppermint, dried peppermint, you could put dried peppermint in there as well. So we're going to put not quite 2 teaspoons just because this is all I got. Okay, and let's see how this is coming along. So see, it's getting a little slimier. And it is weird that you're wanting the slime for once, right? But hey, life is weird like that. Okay, so I'm just going to use this pastry cutter to cut this stuff up together. You could use 2 knives, you could use a food processor. There's really no end to how you can do this. But basically we just want to get the coconut oil as incorporated as we can. And I find, especially for my dogs who have been rescues, their coats and skin were not so awesome. In fact, Max had almost no hair. Well, actually, both the dogs had almost no hair when we adopted them, very separate places. And now they both are really growing out a nice coat of hair. And I think that sometimes the coconut oil can help that. Also, if you've gotten a rescue dog, chances are they've not been getting, before they went to the rescue, they probably weren't eating very well. And so I don't really think much about putting some oil in them. Okay, and that's going to be, I think, about good enough. I like to stir when I'm stirring something thick with a shorter handled spoon, and that's our oven that's preheated. Okay, let's get some more stuffs in there. We are going to put in 2 cups of rolled oats. And like I said, you remember, like, the banana is going to be a little different. Some of the ingredients with these, I kind of freeform it, maybe more than some people would like me to. This is why I don't do a whole lot of baking myself, because it's hard for me to keep it going. And also then we're going to put 3 cups of flour in. You could use any flour. I don't eat gluten right now, so I'm going to use a gluten-free flour. That's about right. And one of the things that I want you to think about too is, are your puppies allergic to anything, right? So Brenna was allergic to corn and some wheat. And so a lot of times I would make her gluten-free cookies before I became gluten-free. Okay. And there's nothing in here that you can't eat unless you're oil-free, and then you can't have the coconut oil. Okay. I'm going to get this flax mixture in here, and I'm also going to put some extra water because my banana was not very soft. It was okay. It was a bruised banana, but it wasn't quite where I'd like it to be. So with these cookies, since I want them to be fairly dry, I don't want to make them super, super moist. I want to kind of err towards dryness as much as I can, because storage is important. Right now, we only have 1 puppy, and it's a lot of cookies. But some other puppies may be getting some Christmas treats. And what I like to do too, because you can cut these in any size pieces that you want, And then you can put them in a jar and do something nice, and that makes it a good gift too. Here, I'll let you see some of this. And see how it's not quite right. So it's almost like closer to a biscuit consistency that we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of water in. And then eventually I will probably just stick my hands in there and finish it up. And so I recommend that you put parchment paper on your cookie sheet just to make it easier to turn over and things like that. Yeah, I think this is going to be great. Okay, I'm going to move this water over here. And make sure I haven't left out any ingredients, which I have not. Yay. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of let you see what I'm doing. So see how it's just covering it. And I'm going to get my hands in here real quick. Okay. So I want to make sure these oats at the bottom get incorporated. And it doesn't smell exactly like what I would want to eat as a peppermint cookie, but you could add some brown sugar to this or some maple syrup instead of the water that I did, and you would love it. It would be a great people cookie too. We're just really doing very, very little on the front of sweetener because these are for the pups. Okay, so I have a fairly large cookie sheet, like a full sheet pan, and I'm just going to squish these out. And I may need to use a spatula in a minute. And if you see some bigger pieces of oil, you can smush them. Okay, let me get a good old spatula. And these are going to cook for a little while for the first cooking, which is going to be where we're cooking them in the pan like this. Then I'm going to take them out, and then we're going to break them up so they can keep cooking. Let me wash my hand before I touch anything exciting. And you just want to spread this out as evenly as you can. And remember, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just like everything else we cook in Kathy's Kitchen, things don't have to be perfect. And your dogs are going to be thrilled that you're baking for them. That's all they want. They don't really care what flavor it is. Sometimes I make these with culinary lavender, which is a fancy word for saying lavender that's meant to be eaten and doesn't have a lot of chemicals on it. And if I go to the Hispanic market, and we'll be talking about that a little more, in my area that's Campari Foods, and they have chamomile that you can just buy with the spices, which is really awesome. Because when we got Max, he was really, really uptight. He's still our neurotic little boy, but he's not nearly as neurotic as he was the first year that we had him. We didn't get him till he was 2, so it's hard to know if he was born into his neurosis or made into his neurosis. But I did find lavender and chamomile cookies really helped. And if you see some of those cookies at the fancy dog stores like Fido or something like that, they can be really expensive. But to make these yourself are not very expensive. And a good tip right now with the holidays or right after is there's going to be a lot of baking stuff on sale, so you might be able to get some things like peppermint oil on sale or flour on sale, both for you and making pup cookies. Okay. Okay. Trying to make it just a little more even. You really can smell the bananas though, and the peppermint, which seems weird, but trust me. Once I was making these last year a lot, and every time I put something in the oven, the dogs thought this stuff was for them. And I was like, you know, some things aren't for you, little puppies. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of score the dough, and let's see if it's going to work right now. So you could use a knife. This is just something that's used for scraping dough, and sometimes I find that that's easy. Okay, and again, I want it to be about the same, but there's no need to worry about that now. What's going to happen is once these are hot and we're breaking them up a little bit, this will make it easier for us to do that. Okay. And again, there's no need to like freak yourself out about being perfect. You're not the machine that they use at the cookie factory for dogs, you know. And if you're making these for presents, it's really nice to make a batch like this. So this took a lot less time than if we rolled out the dough and cut out little dog biscuits. But one of the things you can do is put all the stuff together, the dry mix, and have a little doggy bone cookie cutter, and that can be a gift in itself. So that's something else to do. So we're going to put this in for 40 minutes at 350. So you'll see me kind of put it in. It's hefty. And we may end up cooking it a little bit longer. So let's set the timer. And we'll check them in 40 minutes and see how that goes. Okay, so see how you can see the scores in there? And that's how we're going to break them up. And then we're going to put them on 2 cookie sheets. We may put them on a couple of extra cookie sheets. I think I have a small one, so we'll see. Because what I want to do first, and these are kind of warm, so you want to judge. You can always see how those are just coming apart from where we lightly scored them. Now, there's no reason in the world your puppies couldn't eat a couple of these if they're going crazy. But they are very moist, so they're not going to last very long. So I'm taking some of these and just putting them over here on a nonstick pan. I would say too, the ones in the middle are usually going to be the gooeyest ones. I would put it on the lowest setting your oven will go to. There's nothing wrong with these cookies the way they are, except they're not going to keep. So for instance, if I went ahead and put some of these in a jar for Christmas and wrapped things up, they would probably be moldy by then. So again, it's about storage. And if you're going to make some of these every day and they're for your dog, and I'm just breaking off the ends because I want to make sure that we get these middles really good. Okay. I'm just going to leave that sheet on there. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to cook these for about 10 to 15 more minutes. And so I'm going to show you these too. Okay. And see, they're much drier now. And as they sit and cool, they're probably going to dry a little bit. Anything that's poofy, I'll probably go ahead and give them to them first. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful December. Enjoy all the holidays.